Hey, it's Kley. Welcome to another video. Today, I'm going to do an honest review of this guitar. This is a Glarry GGS101 is the name of the model. It's kind of a Gibson 335 style guitar, made in China. I bought it for about 120 bucks. Going to do an honest review. Going to talk about all the things that it does well or that it needs, and then we're going to do some tone clips, and I'm going to give you some final thoughts on this and whether or not you should consider buying it. If you're interested in that, please stick around. Let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. This is probably the third of the really cheap guitars that I bought from China. Kind of in the $100 range. I bought an SX Furion Telecaster many years ago. That was kind of an interesting experiment. I got sent actually a Glarry T-style guitar about a year or two ago. And then this guitar I bought with my own money off of eBay. It's made by Glarry. The model is called a GGS101 semi-hollow, $119.94 on eBay as of the time of purchase. So it actually shipped fairly quickly. It took about a week to get here. It came double boxed, and then inside the box it was the guitar inside of a gig bag. So it comes with a couple knickknacks, like a pick, a really crappy looking cable. It has a pick guard, which I took off, and then you get the guitar. The gig bag was okay, but really I'm in it just to see what the guitar is like. So my initial reactions actually were pretty positive. This is kind of a red color. It's definitely kind of like a burgundy or a dark red. And actually the color looks really nice. I'm pretty happy with it. It's got two humbuckers, volume, tone, for the neck and the bridge pickups. It's got a three-way selector switch. To talk a little bit about how it feels, and my initial impressions are pretty good. There definitely are some issues with the finish, which I'll talk a little bit more about. And the feel of the neck is pretty good. It's definitely kind of a medium-sized profile, which I find really comfortable. I tend to really dislike very thin profiled necks, but this feels very comfortable to me, so it's not overly thin. I think it feels quite good. The tuning keys actually seem to work just fine. The nut on the guitar is cut way too high and quite poorly, so definitely one of the big weak points on this guitar, and I'll talk more about that later. Got these two pickups here that aren't really set up super well in terms of heights. The volume and the tone controls and the switch all feel really quite good. The bridge is nicely adjustable, looks pretty good. And so overall, my initial impressions were pretty good. I plugged it in, it definitely makes noise, and everything was just fine there. But because the nut is cut too high, see, it's really hard for it to be in tune, just because you tune an open string to the note it needs to be, and then when you push it down, because it has such a harsh break angle, it's really impossible for it to actually be in tune. So definitely one of the big weak points is this nut. Regarding the fit and finish, I would say the finish is okay. Just kind of looking at it in the light, you can definitely see some parts of the finish that are not done perfectly. Even just looking down here in this area, it kind of has some, I'm not going to call it scratches, but like you can definitely see some. Overall, I'm going to say the fit is okay. One other little thing is a lot of this was covered in plastic, and some of the plastic kind of got stuck here between the pickup and the pickup ring, which is really kind of annoying. You can see all the wires kind of poking around. You can definitely see that the wiring on this guitar was done kind of haphazardly. Definitely a more professional wiring job would have kind of tucked all these wires away, and they are the opposite of tucked away. They are in plain view. When I look down inside the F holes, you can see where there's the center block that runs through, and you can see the wood is not perfectly joined. It's not, you know, it almost looks like it was just kind of roughly cut and doesn't have a perfectly smooth and straight joint line there. I'm not necessarily saying that like it's going to come apart, but just the quality of the wood and the cuts that were used on the inside was not perfect. Basically, where I'm at right now, this is day one that I've looked at this. You know, even just looking at the setup, you know, the neck looks pretty straight, but I'm going to need to see if the truss rod works. But just because the nut is so high, you know, it has really high action on the low part, but then actually up here in the higher parts, it kind of chokes out. So the setup isn't real good. I guess what I'm going to say right now is this guitar needs work. And this is kind of my initial impressions is you're definitely, when you kind of use the terminology, you get what you pay for. There's a reason why this $100 guitar is the way it is, and it's basically that they didn't really finish it very well. Now, when I bought it, that's kind of what I was expecting. I was expecting that it would have some finish problems, but I wanted it to work, and everything works fine. All of these issues are things that I can fix, and so ultimately I will fix them, and I'm going to continue the video, and we'll see how it turns out. But if you're looking for an initial conclusion about how it comes outside of the box, it's definitely a roughly finished guitar. If you are a beginner guitarist, this is your first electric guitar, I would not recommend this to you in this state because it's not going to stay in tune very well. You're going to play chords correctly. You know, this G chord sounds fine, but then the E chord sounds horrible because of the nut, the spacing of the nut being so high. If you didn't know how to do this work, or you weren't able to bring it to a shop to get it worked on, and you were just stuck with this guitar, it would put a sour taste in your mouth, and you don't really know any better, and it might even cause you to just stop playing guitar because you're not having any fun, and we don't want that. But if you are an experienced player that has some skill, or even a player that wants to gain some skills with setting up and being DIY friendly, being your own guitar tech, this is an excellent guitar for that purpose. I'm reasonably confident that I can fix all the issues with this and produce a really nice sounding and playing guitar that I'm pretty excited to own. Now I am going to kind of take it apart a little bit and see if I can address some of these issues and just get it to a better spot. We're going to start with the nut. I actually really would like to probably replace the nut, but I don't know if I have a Gibson style that I can work with on hand. But, you know, I'm going to try to work with it as I can and see if I can't make it into something a little bit better than what it is. So let's go ahead and dive into that. All right, I've got the Glarry set up on the workbench here. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the issues that I had described. First of all, right here, there's a little bit of like a sky mark or something in the finish right there. You can see in this F hole, the binding is just a little bit off as far as how the red is attached there. A little bit of a scratch right in here. Not sure how well you're able to see that, but kind of in this area, it's kind of bubbly. And same there on this side right here. Looking at this side of the neck, you can see there's that little indentation or ding right there. Yeah, you can see it very well. You know, overall, you know, it's a little rough, but not the end of the world. If you can see inside there, but you can see kind of right in here, it's very tight, and then here it's pretty loose. Just showing it's not super flat there, but a little bit of that plastic here. That won't come out. In here, it's that white stuff. So yeah, overall, the kind of fit and finish of this guitar is definitely a little rough, but the main issues that I need to address before anything else, we've got to fix this nut. We've also got to get these pickups leveled out, probably get a couple turns on the truss rod to tighten that up, get it intonated, just give it some basic setup work, and it should be pretty good to go after that. So let's start with that.
Missing someone with all your heart. Missing someone with heart. How much you miss it, and you miss it.
right, guys, so I've obviously spent a little bit of time doing my initial impressions of the guitar. I've also done quite a bit of modifications and setup work to get it sounding and playing correctly. And now I've been playing it really for the last couple of days quite a lot. And I have a couple further thoughts. So first of all, once I got the nut sanded down and the nut slots filed a lot better, the playability of the guitar went up by quite a lot. Actually, I would say the guitar feels and plays really, really nicely right now. So I'm quite happy with where I got to. But it took a ton of work to get there. And so if you were going to buy this guitar new, based on my experience, you should plan on buying a brand new nut. I mean, I probably, if I was going to do this again, I wouldn't even mess around with filing this one down. I would just get a brand new one installed and have that one set up and installed correctly from the get-go. So overall, the playability of the guitar is actually quite high and really is quite a fun and pleasurable guitar to play right now. Issue number 2 that arose is, you could probably hear in the tone clips, that the pickups are pretty microphonic. Especially the bridge pickup. I was playing on my Plexi, it's a 50-watt Plexi clone that I built, and I was playing it pretty loud and turned the master up pretty high, and was getting some nice saturated Plexi type distortion, and it was pretty feedbacky and not in a good way, and hard to control and just difficult to play. So the pickups definitely are a bust. When I'm playing directly or more quietly or with cleaner stuff, I actually think they sound pretty darn good. They're pretty toneful. The response is nice, but the feedbacking issues are a real problem. So I am definitely going to look to replace these pickups. I think this guitar is a perfect candidate for something like GFS or Bootstrap or another kind of pickup maker that is a little more affordable. So, just kind of another example where we've got a guitar that's basically kind of unfinished. So, to kind of summarize, if you're willing to deal with some finish blemishes, if you're willing to deal with some pretty extreme setup problems that need some pretty, more than just some very simple setup tweaks, but some really big setup changes, and then maybe even some big problems like changing out the pickups, then the guitar can be a pretty good product. However, if you think of it as a $120 bass guitar, another set of pickups might be, $60 to $300, and in a professional setup might be another, $80 to $150, to install a new nut and do fretwork and setup and all that type of stuff. All of a sudden, you're potentially looking at a guitar that's more like $300 minimum. So then, at that point, you kind of start bumping into some other options. Would you rather buy a used Ibanez for $250 or $300? You could get a PRS SE for somewhere in that range. That's kind of where it becomes a little bit more of a intriguing question. So, for me, with the setup work that I was able to do myself, I was able to kind of recoup those costs. I probably will install a new bone nut, which is like about $7-8. And I do the work all myself, and I enjoyed working on guitars, so it doesn't cost me a lot of money, and I've got the experience to do that. With the pickups, I'll probably buy a new set and put them in because I enjoy the way the guitar plays. I like the way it looks. I'm okay with the finished blemishes, and I want something that I can play and record with and play live and all that good stuff. But right now, I don't have that. And so the pickup problem is kind of a big deal. So all in all, my experience with this Glarry guitar has certainly been mixed. I would say some of it kind of comes down to what is a reasonable expectation for a $120 guitar. The expression, you get what you pay for. Well, I think with some significant work, this guitar can be made to be something that's really quite good, but you got to go into it knowing that it's going to take a lot of work. So if you're willing to do that, go for it. If you're someone that's aspiring to learn how to do setup work and guitar repair and be a better amp tech, this is an excellent guitar. If you're looking to add one to the collection that you want to, not as a primary player, but maybe as a supplement, a type of guitar that you maybe have never had or don't currently own to round out the flock, this can be excellent for that. If you're a brand new beginner and you don't know how to do any of the setup stuff and you're just wanting a new cheap guitar, I wouldn't recommend it. If you have a hard time with some of the finish blemishes or with needing to put in a new set of pickups or some of that kind of stuff, I wouldn't recommend it. So, with all those things being said, I'm happy with my purchase, and I'm going to probably put a little bit into the guitar and turn it into something that I really enjoy, and I'll continue to post it on my channel. But that's going to conclude my thoughts there. If you guys have any more thoughts or questions, leave them down in the comment section below. Have you ever bought a Glarry guitar, and if so, what did you think about it? I'll see you guys again soon, and thanks for sticking around. See you later. Bye.